Us. Good evening, everyone. A feedback for tonight's class, Monday the 11th of May. In tonight's class, we went through a few self-defense, and that's self-defense number 1, 2, and self-defense number 3. So I just want to speak to you all about the importance of the first strike, the very first strike in this self-defense. That the importance is that it must work, okay? Because if these first movements, this first strike doesn't work, then the chances are the rest of your self-defense will not work. So let's go through self-defense number 1, okay? So the first strike is when you step back, and it's the palm, okay? Palm straight through the elbow here. So when you perform this strike, you must go through the actual elbow, okay? So when you practice this in the dojo, you must practice when to strike the elbow, okay? A lot of people get it wrong when they just tend to grab the elbow, okay? So make sure when you practice this that you do strike the elbow, okay? So let's do this again, okay? So from here, push the person down and then finish, okay? So very, very important, because if the first strike is not a strike, okay, the person will not go down. So remember, as you practice this in the dojo, that you need to practice this for real, as if like you are in the streets. Because the chances are, if you don't practice this with a proper strike, then when you're out there in the street and you need to use this to defend yourself, the chances are is that you will revert back to how you practice this in the dojo. And if you tend to grab the elbow every time you do this, then you'll realize that it would not work, okay? So very important. That's for self-defense number 1. So let's move on to self-defense number 2. So the very first strike for self-defense number 2, when somebody grabs you and pulls you forwards, yeah, they pull you forwards. So go with the motion, okay, as they pull you forwards, strike, okay, straight for the jaw, okay. Make sure you take a big stance and strike all the way through the jaw, okay, through the push, smash the jaw, okay. So very, very important, okay. So let's do this again, okay. Okay, so the strike must work, okay. As in previous videos and 3-minute videos, Kancho Peter has mentioned the point of origin, and this has been mentioned over and over again, and the importance of this. And this plays a very, very important part in your self-defense. So from here, as your hands, wherever your hands will be, as we have mentioned before, okay, you strike. Okay, and so that's for self-defense number 2. And then self-defense number 3. Okay, somebody grabs you on the hand here. Okay, first thing you do is open your hand, yeah, and strike. Elbow to the other person's elbow. Strike. Then push the person down. Okay, and finish. So with this self-defense here, okay, when you strike the elbow, okay, make sure your elbow connects with the other person's elbow. Strike, yeah, and then push the person down, and then finish. Okay, so very, very important with all your self-defense. Your very first strike, your very first move must work, because if it doesn't work, as I said before, the rest of your self-defense won't work, okay? So when you practice this, make sure every time you practice your self-defense in the dojo, that you practice as if like somebody is attacking you for real, and that you have to defend yourself for real, okay? So very important, okay? So practice strong. Us.